today I'm going to give you Sharon's version of a physics class. So welcome to physics class, where we're going to talk about the physics of your self-care, right? Doing little things that you love, in incorporating those into your life in an intentional way, in a strategic way, really allows, little spaces of happiness, of contentment, small growth, 10% happier, right? So the physics lesson that popped back into my mind was an object in motion tends to stay in motion, right? And an object at rest tends to stay at rest, right? And so if you yourself are an object in motion, it's easier, right? When you're in that habit, when that habit is already established and already rolling, it's a little easier to stay in that habit, right? To stay with those types of rhythms. If you are at rest, if you're feeling a little blocked, if you're feeling a little stuck, it's so hard to get moving again, right? Because also, so too, an object will not change its motion unless acted upon, unless a force acts on it, right? And that force needs to be stronger or larger than the resistance against it, right? So I started thinking about this within my own practices, which have gotten a little scrambled, admittedly, with COVID and with traveling and things like this. And so I've been trying to reestablish some certain habits in my life, certain meditation, mindfulness, self-care habits, right, within my life, and bringing some structure back into that and some momentum back into that. But how do you do that? How do you create, right? So if I'm in a place of stillness, if I'm in a space that's feeling a little blocked, right? How do I create that initial force, right, to get me moving, right? And then how do I keep the ball rolling? Because that force, right, even if you're rolling downhill, eventually it starts to level up and you have to pick it up again, right? You have to recreating that energy, right? So where does that come from within your practice? Where does that come from in your life, right? I want to talk to you a little bit about how you create that force, that initial motivation, how you create that structure, and how you can set yourself up for success, right? And one way to do it is kind of like we did last week, by thinking strategically about, okay, what is one thing I can do for myself? What is one simple thing that I can do for myself that will improve my overall well-being, that I can commit to every morning, every day on a regular basis, right? But to stick to those goals, you do need to have a little bit of structure, right? Sometimes I find if I don't have that motivation at all, the more structure, the more discipline I need, right? If I'm in a severe place of rest and I want to get moving, if I want to start incorporating more of those things that I'm not finding the motivation, right? Having a little more discipline, having a little more structure in those spaces is what I find to be helpful. If the opposite is true, if I find myself being active, right? If I find myself following along with those habits that I like to create for myself, then I offer myself a little bit more of flexibility, right? So rather than having planned out every minute of my morning routine, right, I offer myself an hour in the morning to do whatever it is that I feel necessary. If I'm having a hard time motivating myself, I offer myself a lot of structure, okay? So the night before, setting yourself up for success, right? What is it in my self-care routine? Making conscious space and time for that, conscious space and time for yourself, because it's so easy for that to be swept under the rug, right? So if I'm finding myself stagnant, I very consciously plan out first I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this. And I set myself up for success in certain ways, right? How can I make it as easy as possible, right, for me to get moving, to get motivated, right? Because if I'm in this place of feeling stuck, right, and the motivation is only here, right, then I'll only roll this. But if I make myself go downhill, right, if I make it as easy as possible for me to do those things, then you get the ball rolling, right? So I want you this week to just sort of play with that metaphor of thinking about your energy in this way and thinking about what sort of physics physics, you can create in your life, create in the structure of your self-care practices, whether it be your meditation or mindfulness practices, right? How can you set yourself up for success? What tools can you use to ease the amount of force that you need to get yourself moving? Does that make sense? Does this little metaphor make sense? Right. So I just wanted to share with you very quickly the tool that I have sort of fallen in love with for managing my life in general, frankly, but also my self-care routines. And so it's called Notion. Notion. And let's get logged in here. I'm already logged in. So this is just a customizable, they have templates all over the internet that you can use. I've got this corny title for mine here, Life by Design. So all of this is customizable. So if you're somebody who's really into journaling or into keeping a daily agenda, then this might be really helpful for you. But the tool in particular I wanted to share with you is my habit tracker. I had not used a habit tracker before, but this habit tracker has really helped me make sure that I am making time for the things in my life that are important, the things in my life that do keep me mentally, emotionally balanced. Because sometimes you can think that you are do something often, and I've realized that those are the things in my routine that kind of get swept under the rug. They're the things that, you start meditating on a daily basis, and then somewhere along the line it kind of just falls off, and you find yourself a month later not in that habit anymore. So the habit tracker too has been really motivating, because it's very satisfying. I find myself very excited to go in and click, and I've been trying to get all of my check marks, and for whatever reason that has actually really been encouraging for me to do. So I highly encourage you to go play on Notion, to create some templates, play around with what works for you. I've got things that resonated. The thing about this is it has kept my brain clear. So rather than everything is just in one place. So rather than having, so many saved tabs or wishing I could remember something, I've just put it in this resonated, right? If something's on my mind, I put it in this brain dump. And so this tool has really been super helpful. And if you guys would like me to go more in depth with this tool and some of the templates I have created, if you want to create them in Notion or on your own in your own journal, then I would be happy to make a secondary video on that. So please do let me know. But I've been having so much fun with it. So hopefully you go and check it out and it works for you too. So I took some time to think about, okay, what sort of things do I want to cultivate in my life, right? And how can I start holding myself accountable to those things that actually do offer me some happiness? Because last week we talked a little bit about how mindfulness a little bit and living with intention is really about cultivating a life that brings you happiness. And our meditation, right, offers us that reflection and sometimes offers us that insight, but there has to be some sort of follow through. And so that's kind of what I've been focusing on as of late, is a little bit more of that follow through, right? So, something to meditate on, something to think about. Before we dive into, and I forgot to ask you guys to grab either pen or paper if you'd like, I want you to think about some things that bring life to your life, right? That bring energy, that bring movement to your life, right? That give you that sort of excited to get up out of bed sort of feeling. What is that for you? Is there anything like that for you at this time? And if there isn't, what is something that you wish did, right? I wish I could do this more in my life and that it would offer me what it used to, this sort of thing. So just write down 3 things that you want to start cultivating, and you can make those three things as specific or as broad, right? As structured or as flexible as you would like. And these are self-care items, things that bring joy into your life, things that bring peace, calmness, balance. 3 things that if you could do regularly, you think would improve your overall quality of life. And it can be something that you're already working on. It can be something that you chose last week as well. It's okay to repeat those things. We're just re-solidifying that if you already do, right? So go ahead and now pick one this week that you would like to focus on. One that you think you could do every day. And then you'll ask yourself, okay, now that I've picked this thing that I think that I can commit to, that I can incorporate into my life, right? Okay, how much structure do I need to add to this, right? For me to have enough momentum for it, right? So what is it that I can do to either create that force, that initial force, right? Or how can I create a downhill structure to keep the ball rolling for me? Does that make sense? So, example of what I mean is, for me, the night before, I set my cushion and my yoga mat and my candles up by the door, so that when I get up, I don't have to think about it. I also put my phone across the room so that I have to get up and get the phone and turn it off, because that initial motivation is for me to make the noise stop, right? Right. A little bit. So think about what that might be for you. What is the force? What is the initial motivation for me? And it also can be an internal motivation that is strong enough, right? There's also internal motivation for me to do these things because I know that they're going to improve and make my life a little bit happier, right? That internal motivation. And then what sort of structure can I apply to this, right? To make it happen, to make the ball roll. So what you want to end up with, right, is a initial goal of, I am going to meditate or stretch or walk or sing every day this week. I am going to support this goal by setting a timer on my phone, by using this Notion website that Sharon has given us to make a habit tracker, by doing X, Y, and Z. Just a couple things that you can do to support that. By putting on my mirror why this will help me on a sticky note. Little things like this. Be creative. Think about your life, your style, and what would help you. Right? Creating and fostering an environment for making self-care easy. Right? Not just easy, but your first priority. A friend used to always say that his first job was taking care of himself. People would ask him, what's your job? And he'd say, taking care of myself. Because if you don't take care of yourself first, if you take care of yourself first, all other jobs you'll do better. If you don't take care of yourself, then you have nothing. Then you are all you have. So make that a priority, and everything that you have to give will improve, right? It's absolutely necessary, and you should feel zero guilt. I used to feel guilty, I think, taking time for self-care, right? But when we take time for self-care, all other things in our life improve.